Students, welcome to the EduSat class. Today we have English grammar for you, and today's topic is relative clauses. Please open your English grammar book, keep your rough notes and pen ready, look at the screen attentively. Try to listen and get what we are giving you here. Before going to relative clauses, I must remind you what clauses are. What is a clause? A clause may be a sentence or a part of a sentence. However, it must have a subject and at least a verb in the predicate. Basing on clauses, sentences may be of three types. You know it, we have already taught you. Sentences basing on clauses are of three types like simple, compound, and complex sentences. In a simple sentence, we find only one clause. Take for example, Madhu is a good boy. He studies sincerely. The man is rich. There is only one finite verb in these sentences which can stand by itself. So, these are the examples of simple sentences, only one clause. In a compound sentence, however, two or more independent clauses are joined by coordinators. Examples: Madhu is not only a good student but also a good singer. So, Madhu is a good student, Madhu is a good singer, two independent clauses. They are joined by the correlative coordinator, not only but also. He is not rich, yet he is happy. He is not rich, he is happy. These two independent clauses, they are joined by the coordinator yet, and we get the compound sentence. He is not rich, yet he is happy. She came and stayed here for a week. She came here, she stayed here for a week. They are joined by the coordinator end, and we get the compound sentence. She came and stayed here for a week. On the other hand, in a complex sentence, we find one independent clause and one or more subordinate clauses. They are joined together by subordinators. Take for example, I know that he is a good boy. I know is the main clause, independent clause. That he is a good boy. This is the subordinate clause. Next sentence, I have a box which contains old books. I have a box. This is the main clause. Which contains old books. This is the subordinate clause. The teacher came when the students were. Make it were. The teacher came when the students were shouting. Change the R to were. So the teacher came. This is the main clause. When the students were shouting, this is the subordinate clause. So students, as you see, basing on clauses, sentences may be of three types: simple, compound, and complex sentences. In a complex sentence, we find one main clause and one or more subordinate clauses. And subordinate clauses in complex sentences may be of three types: noun clauses, relative clauses, and adverb clauses. We have already taught you noun clauses. What a noun clause is, how the noun clauses function in a sentence, we have already given you in detail. Today, now we are going to describe more about relative clauses. So, next slide please. Look at the examples on the screen. I have read the book which you wrote. Don't sit on the chair which has a broken leg. Madhu is the boy who stands first in our class. I hate people who waste their time. So, in each of these sentences, the clauses in green are used just after a noun phrase which they identify or qualify. Take for example, in the first sentence, clause in green, which you wrote, it identifies, it qualifies the noun phrase, the book. In the second sentence, the clause in green, which has a broken leg, speaks more about the noun phrase, the chair. In the third sentence, who stands first in our class, it defines the noun phrase, the boy. In the fourth sentence, who waste their time, it qualifies the noun phrase pupil. Such clauses which qualify noun phrases like adjectives are called relative clauses or adjective clauses. Go to the screen before it. All these clauses which are in green, they qualify the noun phrases. The book, the chair, the boy, the pupil, only pupil. So these clauses which qualify or define or identify the noun clauses after which the noun phrases after which they are used, they are called relative clauses or adjective clauses because they function like adjectives. So such clauses which qualify noun phrases like adjectives are called relative clauses or adjective clauses. The noun phrases which they qualify are called antecedent. Go to the last screen. Last screen again. Noun clauses which they qualify, they are called the antecedent. In the first sentence, the book, the noun phrase, is defined by the relative clause which you wrote. So, the book is the antecedent to the noun clause which you wrote. In second sentence, the chair, the noun phrase, is the antecedent to the relative clause which has a broken leg. Likewise, in the third sentence, the noun phrase the boy is the antecedent to the relative clause who stands first in our class. Pupil is the antecedent. Last sentence, pupil, the noun phrase, is the antecedent to the relative clause who waste their time. So, relative clauses, they are used after the antecedents which they qualify. The antecedents are noun phrases as you see here. Relative clauses usually begin with the words who, whom, which, that and which. These terms are called relative pronouns. Again go to the last screen. You mark the words with which the relative clauses begin. Which you wrote, which has a broken leg, who stands first in our class, who waste their time. So, in all these sentences, the relative clauses begin with the term, with the expression either which or who. Next screen. So, these terms who, whom, which, that or which, they are called relative pronouns. Out of these relative pronouns, who and whom, they are used for people. Which or that, they are used for things. And the relative pronoun which is a possessive relative pronoun used for persons. Take for example, the boy whose book I have borrowed is the monitor of your class. The boy whose book I have borrowed is the monitor of your class. Main clause, the boy is the monitor of your class. Whose book I have borrowed, this is the relative clause and it begins with the possessive relative pronoun whose. So, in this way, the possessive relative pronoun whose is used in place of a person. I have brought one activity basing on what we have already discussed up to now. Till now, there is an activity. Combine the following pairs of sentences using one of them as a relative clause. Answers are also there in brown. Question sentences are in blue. The birds are chirping. The birds live in the neighborhood. You see, you can find two identical noun phrases in both the sentences. I give you the clue how to combine such sentences making a relative clause. In both the sentences, you find one identical noun phrase, the birds. The birds are chirping, the birds live in the neighborhood. So, you replace the second identical noun phrase with an appropriate relative pronoun. Here, the appropriate relative pronoun is which or live, which or that. You again write this sentence like this: which live in the neighborhood, that live in the neighborhood. And take this portion and use it after the first noun phrase, the birds. The birds which live in the neighborhood. Then complete the first sentence are chirping. The birds which live in the neighborhood are chirping. I write with the pen. My father bought the pen for me. Two identical noun phrases. Identify them. The pen. Replace the second identical noun phrase with an appropriate relative pronoun, which are that. I write with the pen which my father bought for me, or that my father bought for me. So, in this manner, you can easily combine sentences, making one of them a relative clause. More question sentences are there. The sick were delighted. Florence Nightingale nursed the sick. So, you replace the second sick with the relative pronoun who or whom, and the sentence becomes the sick who or whom Florence Nightingale nursed were delighted. I like the man has a smiling face. Replace the second identical noun phrase the man with the relative pronoun who. I like the man who has a smiling face. The thief escaped in the dark. The thief has robbed me. The thief who had robbed me escaped in the dark. So students, in this manner, you can combine two sentences making one relative clause by replacing the identical noun phrase in the second sentence. Thus, you can use and apply relative clauses in the sentences. I think it is clear for you. So students, you have listened what relative clauses are and how you can frame relative clauses by replacing an identical noun phrase given in two sentences by an appropriate relative pronoun, choosing one from who, whom, which, that, or which. And you can use them in your sentences and make your sentences look beautiful. Students, we have already learned how the use of relative clauses make the sentences beautiful. They modify, qualify, or they give more information regarding the noun phrases, the antecedents after which they are used. I am giving you some more examples. Look at the screen and try to understand. A teacher is a person who teaches. A doctor is a person who treats patients. So, in the above examples, the relative clauses, who teaches and who treats patients, they define or identify the noun clauses a person which go before them. So, such type of relative clauses are called defining or identifying relative clauses. So, in the screen, who teaches define a person. In the second sentence, who treats patients, it also define there is also another a person. A doctor is a person. So, these two relative clauses are called defining or identifying relative clauses because they define or identify the antecedent noun phrase after which they are used. I am giving you two more examples in which I have read the book my father bought. The boy you see here is my brother. The house we live in is a new one. The man you met yesterday is my uncle. You look, we have already told you the relative clauses begin with a relative pronoun. In these examples, you see how relative clauses begin without a relative pronoun. Try to recognize the relative clauses in each of these sentences. I have read the book my father bought. The book is the antecedent, relative clause is my father bought. You can say I have read the book which my father bought, that my father bought. Here the relative pronoun that or which remains silent. They are not used, they have been dropped. Second sentence, the boy you see here is my brother. The boy who you see here is my brother. The boy whom you see here is my brother. The boy is my brother is the main clause. Who you see here, whom you see here. That is the relative clause. And we have dropped the relative pronoun who or whom. The house we live in is a new one. The house that we live in is a new one. Which we live in is a new one. The house is a new one is the main class, that we live in, which we live in is the relative class, and we have dropped the relative pronoun who or which. Last sentence, the man you met yesterday is my uncle. The man is my uncle is the main class. Who you met yesterday or whom you met yesterday is the relative class. So you see how we have dropped relative pronouns in each of these cases. So such cases where we can drop the relative pronouns, they are called zero relatives. And zero relative clauses or zero relatives are only found in identifying or defining relative clauses. I told you first, one type of relative clause is defining or identifying relative clause. They define or identify the antecedent noun phrase after which they are used. However, in some of the defining or identifying relative clauses, we can drop the relative pronoun. So, the cases where we can drop the relative pronouns, it is written clearly on the screen. Go to the screen and see it. So, in each of the above sentences, the relative pronoun is the object of the relative clause. So, when the relative pronoun functions as the objective of the relative clause, in those cases, we can drop the relative pronoun. So, when the relative pronoun is omitted or when the relative pronoun can be omitted, the relative clause is called a contact clause or zero relative clause. Another type of relative clause I am going to describe you. Look at the screen and read the sentences. The shopkeeper for whom I was working is a good person. The boy with whom I share the house is a college student. In the above sentences, the relative pronoun whom act as the object of the preposition for and with. In such cases, we may drop the relative pronoun and use the preposition at the end of the relative clause. So, in this manner, zero relatives can be framed. And another type of relative clause which we are going to describe you now. Read the examples in the screen. I met a man who was my student 10 years ago. I met Madhu who was my student 10 years ago. What is the difference in these two sentences? A man is replaced by Madhu in the second sentence. In the first sentence, the relative clause who was my student 10 years ago, it defines the antecedent noun phrase a man. It gives more information about the antecedent noun phrase a man. If I say only I met a man, question will arise, which man did you meet? So, who was my student 10 years ago? It defines, it identifies the man. So, who was my student 10 years ago? The relative clause is a defining relative clause. On the other hand, in the second sentence, if I say I met Madhu, the sentence is complete. The additional relative clause, additional portion, the relative clause, who was my student 10 years ago, it just gives more information about Madhu. It doesn't identify Madhu, it doesn't define Madhu, it just adds information to Madhu. So, such relative clauses which only add information to the antecedent provides more information about the antecedent. They are called non-defining or non-identifying relative clauses. You mark how the non-defining, non-identifying relative clause who was my student 10 years ago is separated from the main clause I met Madhu by a comma. So, when we write a non-defining, non-identifying relative clause, we separate the non-defining, non-identifying relative clause from the main clause by using a comma, so that one can recognize the main clause and the non-defining, non-identifying relative clause well. I am giving some more examples regarding non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses. Mr. Naik, who you met yesterday, is my friend. Our institution, which works for public welfare, is highly popular. Mita, who is my classmate, is very honest. First, try to recognize, identify the main clauses and the relative clauses. In the first sentence, the main clause is Mr. Naik is my friend. No need of identifying Mr. Naik. Relative clause, who you met yesterday. It only adds information to Mr. Naik. And in such cases where you use the relative clause in the mid position of the sentences, that means between two parts of the main clause, you have to put two commas. Mr. Naik, one comma, then relative clause, who you met yesterday, another comma, then the remaining portion of the main clause. Mr. Naik, who you met yesterday, is my friend. Second sentence, main clause, our institution is highly popular. And relative clause, which was for public welfare. And this relative clause is separated from our institution. Our institution means it is already known which which institution I am speaking about. No need to identify, define the institution. So you have to put a comma after our institution, then the relative clause which was for public welfare, and then the remaining portion of the main clause is highly popular. Third sentence, Mita, who is my classmate, is very honest. Mita is very honest. This is the main clause. Who is my classmate? It adds information. That is why it is separated from the main clause by two commas on both the sides. So you learn what non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses are and how non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses are separated from main clauses by using a single comma or by using two commas on both the sides. So students, do not forget to put a comma in case of non-defining relative clause. So students, non-defining relative clauses do not define or do not identify the antecedent noun phrases after which they are used. That is why they are separated from antecedent noun phrases by using commas. Now I am giving you some vital points regarding defining and non-defining relative clauses. Look at the screen and try to remember them, try to understand them. The non-defining relative clauses are separated from the main clauses with the help of commas or a comma. The non-defining relative clauses are additional parts of a sentence. They give extra information. The relative pronoun cannot be dropped in the non-defining relative clauses. We have already discussed zero relatives. In zero relatives we see how relative pronouns can be dropped. This is only in case of defining relative clauses. You remember, relative pronouns cannot be dropped in the non-defining relative clauses. There is one activity basing on identifying and non-identifying, defining and non-defining. Actually, identifying, another name is defining. Non-identifying, another name is non-defining relative clauses. My friend, who is a good violinist, has won several prizes. Relative clause is who is a good violinist. It is separated from the main clause, the antecedent noun phrase, my friend. So this is the case of non-defining. Second sentence, Dr. Mahapatra, who has a good name, lives on the next street. Who has a good name, the relative clause, is separated from the antecedent noun phrase Dr. Mahapatra by using a comma. We have already told Dr. Mahapatra. No need of defining, no need of identifying Dr. Mahapatra. So the relative clause is separated from the main clause Dr. Mahapatra lives on the next street, and this is a case of non-defining relative clause. Next sentence, where is the pen I left on the table? Where is the pen that I left on the table, which I left on the table? Case of zero relative, and I left on the table is the relative clause. No, it has not been separated. It doesn't play the function of non-identifying. It defines. I left the pen. Where is the pen? Which pen? That I left on the table. Which I left on the table. So, I left on the table. The relative clause is a defining one. Next question sentence. We love the man who thinks of our welfare. Here the relative clause is who thinks of our welfare, and it speaks about the man, defines the man. We love the man. If I speak only we love the man, the question will arise, which man do you love? So, who thinks of our welfare, the relative clause, it defines or it identifies the antecedent noun phrase, the man. So, this is the case of defining or identifying noun relative clause. Next sentence, on his lies the head that wears a crown. On his lies the head that wears a crown. Relative clause is that wears a crown or which wears a crown. Antecedent, the head. If you say on his lies the head, which head? That wears a crown. It defines the antecedent, the head. So, it is a defining relative clause. Very easy clue. Even a layman can distinguish between defining and non-defining relative clause only by looking after the comma. But since you are students, you must recognize them properly, then distinguish between defining and non-defining, identifying and non-identifying relative clauses. That will be good for you. Go to the next examples on the screen. Lots of people died of an epidemic which spread across the country. Second sentence also looks equal. Lots of people died of an epidemic which was really tragic. What's the difference between these two sentences? The first sentence, lots of people died of an epidemic which spread across the country. Relative clause, which spread across the country. Antecedent, an epidemic. The relative clause which spread across the country, it provides more information about an epidemic, the antecedent noun phrase. But in the second sentence, which is the antecedent noun phrase? Lots of people died of an epidemic which was really tragic. The relative clause which was really tragic, it does not speak only about an epidemic. It does not speak only about lots of people. It gives more information about the whole expression. Lots of people died of an epidemic. That the death of lots of people in the epidemic is the tragic thing. Not only epidemic, not only lots of people. So, such cases where the relative clauses provide more information about the whole sentence after which they are used. That means the whole sentence functions as the antecedent noun phrase. Such cases are called sentential relative clauses. And you mark, students, in both the sentences, the relative clauses are separated from the antecedents by commas. So, antecedent relative clauses, the sentential relative clauses, they are found only in non-defining or non-identifying relative clauses. Just like zero relatives are found only in defining or identifying relative clauses, sentential relative clauses are found only in non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses, and in sentential relative clauses, the whole sentence after which the relative clause is used, the whole of the expression, they function as the antecedent to the relative clause. Take more examples of sentential relative clause. I am giving you another example of sentential relative clause. Satish scored a goal in the last minute which was fortunate. Satish was not fortunate. Goal was not fortunate. Last minute was not fortunate. Which was fortunate? The fact that Satish scored a goal in the last minute. So the whole of the expression, it functions as the antecedent to the relative clause which was fortunate. It is separated from the whole of the expression by using the comma, and the whole of the expression which was fortunate, the relative clause, it gives more information about the whole of the expression. So this is also the case of a sentential relative clause. So students, I told you about non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses. I told non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses are separated from antecedent noun phrases using commas. It may be a single comma. If the relative clause is in the middle of the mid position of the main clause, it may be separated by two commas. Then I told you in non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses we find sentential relative clauses. That means the whole of the sentence, the whole of the expression is given more information by the relative clause. That is why we said it non-defining, non-identifying sentential relative clause. Students, remember, since in non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses, there is no need to define or identify the antecedent noun phrase. The non-defining or non-identifying relative clauses are separated from the main clauses by using commas, as I have already shown you in several examples. And we have also seen how sentential relative clauses, they occur in non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses. I have brought one example, one activity on the screen. Try to solve that activity. Look at the screen and try to solve the questions in the activity. Then I will go to the textbook to solve the activities in the textbook. This is activity 3. Some questions along with their answers are given on the screen. Complete the following sentences using who, whom, whose, that. What is the name of your friend who comes to our school? Answer is there, who comes to our school. The boy who is playing cricket is Srikant. An orphan is a child whose parents are dead. The man whom you met yesterday. I am speaking the sentences along with the answers. The man whom you met yesterday is a friend of my father's. So only 4 question sentences along with their answers are there on the screen. Now let's go to the textbook. So many other activities are there. We can solve the activities, find answers to them. Go to your textbook. In page number 78, there is one activity where you have been directed to define the terms given in examples. I am reading out these sentences and finding solution to the questions. A driver is a person. I am just going on speaking the answers. You look at the textbooks attentively. A driver is a person who drives a vehicle. It may be a car, maybe a bus, maybe a scooter, any automobile. So, who drives a vehicle. An actor is a person who acts. A journalist is a person who writes for newspapers. A farmer is a person who cultivates land. A patient is a person who gets treatment in a hospital. A newspaper is a document in which news is published. A conductor is a person who collects tickets in a bus. A teacher is a person who teaches. A plumber is a person who repairs pipelines. A doctor is a person who treats patients. A hospital is a place where patients get treatment. A hospital is a place where patients get treatment. A transitive verb is a verb which carries objects. A transitive verb is a verb which carries objects. So, here this activity comes to an end. Go to another activity. Go to page number 80. This is activity 6 of your textbook. Put commas in the following sentences if they are necessary. That means what you have to do? First of all, you have to recognize the relative clauses. Then you have to know whether they are identifying or non-identifying. You know, in case of non-identifying, non-defining relative clauses only, you can put a comma. So first thing is that you have to recognize the relative clauses, whether they are defining or non-defining. Then only you can put commas. You have been directed to put commas in the following sentences if they are necessary. I am reading out the first sentence. The man whom the police arrested is not known to us. Main clause, the man is not known to us. Which man? Whom the police arrested. So, no need of putting a comma. This is a case of defining or identifying relative clause. The strike at the factory. The strike at the factory, which lasted 10 days, is over now. The strike at the factory. At the factory, it already gives the definition, identification of the strike. So, the relative clause which lasted 10 days, it no more defines, it no more identifies the antecedent, the strike or the strike at the party, the strike at the factory. So, put a comma on both the sides of the relative clause which lasted 10 days. Here you have to put comma. My father, who is working at Koraput, is a doctor. My father also needs no definition, no identification. My father is my father. So, the relative clause who is working at Koraput need to be separated on both the sides from the main clause. My father is a doctor. My father, put one comma, then write who is a doctor at Koraput, another comma, then is a doctor. I have found the book which I was looking for. Relative clause which I was looking for. And I have found the book. Which book? That I was looking for, which I was looking for. Here it is the case of defining or identifying relative clause. No need of putting a comma. Do not put a comma. The next sentence, Mira's grandmother, who is sick, is in hospital. Main clause, Mira's grandmother is in hospital now. Relative clause, who is sick. Who is sick has no need to define, identify Mira's grandmother, as it is self-identifying, self-defining. So, you put a comma after Mira's grandmother, then write the relative clause who is sick, put another comma, then write is in hospital now. Next sentence, Einstein, who discovered the theory of relativity, once failed in an examination. Main clause, Einstein once failed in an examination. Relative clause, who discovered the theory of relativity. Einstein is self-defining, self-identifying, no need of defining. So, put a comma after Einstein, write the relative clause who discovered the theory of relativity, another comma, then once failed in an examination. Next sentence, Engineer Chaudhuri, who got this bridge built, is on a visit to our village. Main clause, Engineer Chaudhuri is on a visit to our village. Relative clause, who got this bridge built. Engineer Chaudhuri is self-defining, self-identifying, no need of defining. So this is a case of non-defining, non-identifying relative clause. You put commas on both the sides of the relative clause who got this bridge built. Next sentence, Mother Teresa, who faithfully served the poor, is called a saint now. Main clause, Mother Teresa is called a saint now. Relative clause, who faithfully served the poor. And Mother Teresa itself is self-defining, self-identifying, no need to define the antecedent Mother Teresa. That is why non-defining, non-relative clause, you put a comma after Mother Teresa, then write the relative clause who faithfully served the poor, another comma, then write the remaining portion of the main clause is called a sent noun. Next sentence, he has stopped attending classes, which is unfortunate. What is unfortunate? Not classes, not he. The whole expression, he has stopped attending classes. So it is a case of sentential relative clause. You put a comma after the expression, he has stopped attending classes. Then write the relative clause, which is unfortunate. The chairman of the committee, who is impartial, solves all problems cleverly. Main clause, the chairman of the committee solves all problems cleverly. Relative clause, who is impartial, and the chairman of the committee has already been defined, already been identified. So this is a case of non-defining, non-identifying relative clause. You put a comma after the chairman of the committee, write the relative clause, who is impartial, put another comma, then write solves all problems clearly, all problems cleverly. So students, in this manner you see how defining and non-defining relative clauses can be recognized easily in the sentences. What we have discussed today from the beginning to the end, we have discussed in detail regarding relative clauses. What relative clauses are? Relative clauses, they define the antecedent relative, they define the antecedent, or they provide more information about the antecedent noun phrases after which they are used. Invariably they are used after antecedent noun phrases. In some cases they define or identify the antecedent noun phrases. In some cases they provide more information about the antecedent noun phrases. The cases where the relative clauses define or identify the antecedent noun phrases, they are called defining or identifying relative clauses. In cases where the relative clauses do not define, do not identify the antecedent noun phrases, just add more information to it, just provide more information to the antecedent noun phrase. In those cases they are called non-defining, non-identifying relative clauses. In case of defining relative clauses, we can use zero relatives. That means in cases where the relative clauses functions as the objects, in cases where the relative pronouns function as objects of the relative clauses, there we can drop the relative pronoun. The man I was talking to is my brother. We can drop the relative pronoun. The man who I was talking to is my brother. So such cases are found only in case of defining relative clauses. Such cases means zero relatives are found only in cases of defining relative clauses. We have already discussed another type of relative clause, that is sentential relative clause, which we find only in non-defining relative clauses. In sentential relative clauses, what happens? The whole sentence, the whole of the expression, that is we add more information to the whole of the expression, to the whole of the sentence. So that is a case of sentential relative clause. So students, you learn in detail regarding relative clauses. I think you do not have any more problem regarding this. You go home, read the textbook in detail. You can learn regarding relative clauses and you will face no more problem regarding this chapter. Thank